Hello, my name is Sideshow, and this is the beginning of a new interview series that I'm going to be doing with people involved in the competitive TF2 scene. It's a longer interview series than you might be familiar with. You can check the length of the video and see how long it is now. But I'm going to be talking to people about their history in the scene, how they've developed as a player, or if they're involved in some other way, how they've developed with their contributions to competitive TF2. But we're going to be kicking it off with b4nny, who I'm sure you've heard of. If you haven't, then this is the perfect opportunity for you to get to know him a little better. But if you have heard of him, then we're really going to be getting in depth with the guy right now. So he's joining us, of course, one of the most talented TF2 players that the game has to offer. And I'm going to kick it off with a little bit of context for people, just to set the scene, you know. So, b4nny, you probably are. In fact, I think I'm right in saying that you definitely are the most decorated player in TF2's history, with ESEA victories since season 7. You got I-52 first place, I-55 first place, strong showings at the other I-series that were intercontinental as well, and I just had to troll through the history as well, and top 3 showings in every single tournament that you've entered since the summer of 2010. Like 5 years of just consistent, amazing performance. And while surrounded by a huge variation of players, some people who are still with us, some people who've disappeared by now as well, and roster changes within those teams that you've been in. And so in the context of that, the first question that I want to ask you is, how have you managed to create such a strong performance with every team that you've ever been involved with? What goes into the level of consistency to bring everybody in your team together and reach that top level every single time?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on this, and yeah, I'm flattered by the introduction, but I think really what it comes down to, in my opinion, is leadership. I started like anyone else in TF2 at the bottom, and I was lucky enough to end up playing with some really good leaders early on, specifically Thorin, I'd say. That was way back in season 5 of ESEA. He picked me up on his team, and he kind of taught me what it means to be on a real team that like everyone cares about, that has like all the politics taken care of and all the relationships being maintained, and but also still focusing on improving as a team. So I played with him for a long time, and he was really the I guess the main inspiration. I think nowadays, like a lot of the invite teams that may have been around for many seasons but don't ever break the top 4, their main issue is their leadership is weak. Like I can watch a stream of one of their teams, and then I just immediately see tons of issues because they just don't have any direction. They don't have anyone who's like taking the reins of the team and really pushing them to the next level. So that's something that I've focused on ever since season 13, when I took over as a leader for my own team, and always tried to pick up players that kind of had the same mindset, the same vision for the team, wanted to succeed, but also knew how to, take criticism, communicate, could, like, I don't know, just fit in with the personality of the team. So there's a lot of factors to building a good team that will go far. But I think that I've learned from those before me kind of what to look for in players and how to be a leader from them, I guess.
So you've often taken the role of main caller in these most recent teams of the teams that you've been the leader of, or the team captain. You've recently just become the team captain of another team which previously wasn't involved with you and was kind of trying to exist on its own without maybe that leadership. But just taking it back to right at the beginning, where you're trying to develop this style of leadership from Thorin, as you mentioned, and other players perhaps that have influenced you, how would you say that those players, what were their roles within the team like in terms of leadership, and how has that influenced you? What do you bring to a team that's more than your individual skill, that is this management of the team, controlling the politics within it, and leadership? What's your personal style, and how have these other people influenced you by being able to see how they interacted with teams?
Well, lately I've been a bit lazy about it, just because I got kind of in the habit season like 16 through 19 of being on the the froyotech team that was like really strong just without much practice or whatever. So I kind of got lazy during that period, but so lately I've been trying to kick it up a notch, and especially with the new squad that I'm playing with, there's a lot of things that before could maybe go unsaid or could be assumed with more experienced players that now I'm really having to make sure everyone's on the same page about again. So I'm trying to kick up the leadership stuff again, and it's reminding me of a lot of the old things that I used to do. But basically, for me, the priority on starting a new team or being the leader is having every player on the team kind of feel like they're valuable, that they're important, that they're basically equal. Because me joining a team like the one I am this season, where we're playing with people that have never been at the top of invite. I'll go over the roster real quick. So I'm the pocket. I'm by far the most experienced player on the team. But then we have Patty on Roamer, we have Free State on Medic, we have Decimate on Scout, we have Corsa on Scout, and we have Muma on Demo. So a lot of those names a lot of people probably haven't even heard of, but I've seen almost every single one of them rise up from open to where they are now, and they're all skilled players, but they just, like I said before, they haven't played on a team that's gonna be like this, that's expected to win or has this much pressure or whatever on the line, or doesn't have a leader that actually cares or whatever. So it's going to be new for them, and we're going to be focusing on a lot of things. But like I was saying, I want all of them to feel like they have a role on the team. All of them feel like they're, they can just contribute equally. Because I'm experienced, but I'm not infallible. I want them to feel like they are equal to someone who's experienced as me. And for a while, that I could tell that there was something holding a lot of them back. Like they didn't want to mess up in front of me, or they didn't want to like make the wrong call or argue with me or whatever. But that kind of stuff is actually pretty important to have happen, to iron out the disagreements in the team and stuff like that. So it's kind of the same model that my team back in season 13 had. Though back then we had a core of experienced players with like myself and Shade and Sizer. We added 3 newer players, or less decorated players, Lansky, Tag, and Shrugger, and we took that team all the way to the championship. So it's kind of something that I've always believed in, giving new players a chance to shine. And like I think there's nothing wrong with it. I think having some fresh talent is always a good thing to liven things up, especially recent seasons. Like I've had some struggles with players on my teams just not wanting to practice, and it just, as a leader, that's the worst, because there did come a point where I feel like I lost the respect of my team, and at that point it's just miserable being the team leader, really. So starting fresh with these guys and being able to just start strong is nice. And I'd say besides Tyrone, who I just learned from because he was just I don't know, he was like an older brother, I guess, back then, and he would just give it to me straight. He would explain all of this stuff, and he would tell me a lot of the reasons that he would talk to people certain ways. He had a reputation for sugarcoating it, which I'm not as good at doing. I tend to just call things out as they are. So I'm not as skilled at the politics as he is, but I try to make everyone happy, on the team. If I can sense that during scrim someone's a little bit upset or they're in a bad mood, without ruining the whole team atmosphere, I might approach them privately on Steam and ask them what's up. During the holidays or whatever, wish everyone a happy holiday so they feel we're friends. Make sure that if they're struggling, I offer to help them with demo reviews and positioning and other decision-making things, because I have a lot of experience. I want to share that with them and just catch them up to speed. So it is a lot of hands-on stuff at times, but then there's some degree of trying to build that camaraderie on the team. So like after we're done scrimming, a lot of the guys on my team like to play pugs, so we play together a lot outside of our scrims and matches. Um, that's something that I would encourage a lot of teams to do, is do some sort of like uh, extracurricular like activity sort of thing, like whether it's just hanging out in Mumble and just chatting, or doing like some chill MGE with each other or something like that. It really helps with the team atmosphere, because I think that uh, if people just feel like I don't know, just hired guns, mercenaries, they just show up, play, leave, it kind of kills that team vibe. And that's like how I treat Highlander teams basically, because Highlander's not really my priority. So like I'll join the team, I won't watch demos really, I'll chat every once in a while, but I'm there to play and then I leave. So Highlander is kind of the example uh, of that, like that system for me, I guess. And since sixes is my priority, I don't do that for sixes. I want to win in sixes really badly. I want my team to like be the best it possibly can. And there's more on the line, there's more prestige, and it's more fulfilling to have a good sixes team to me. Um, what else? Another person who influenced me a lot was probably Lansky, actually. Him and I ended up being like co-leaders of our team, season 13 through basically when he departed froyotech. And he was kind of what I learned from having Lansky on the team, that I realized only after I lost him, was that I really, it helps to have like a co-captain kind of thing, where you have basically two people who can be like the foundation, the anchor, to the team, that can hold everyone down and like keep them in line, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because after Lansky was gone, I realized it was kind of like the Wild West. People could try to just push me like off the edge, and I didn't have anyone to like help me get everyone back in line. It kind of sucked. People not showing up to play, people like trying to play with fucking controllers, people switching classes mid scrim and match, people leaving early, and I don't know. It just sucked really. So having someone that is like on the same page as you is really, really helpful. And yeah, that's basically what I would like to have for all my future teams, I guess.
Before we carry on with a few interesting little trains of thought that you've opened up there, which I definitely will revisit later on, I just want to explore, if we go right back to the beginning of b4nny, not even in TF2 at this point, I want to see if there's any interesting history to dig up, even before you got into that. So how did you get into games as a kid, as a young teenager? I don't know when you started playing video games. So when did you first get into video games, and when did you start taking them competitively? When did you start getting into competitive gaming in general, and then picking up TF2?
Well, as far as PC gaming goes, I think I started when I was about 9 years old. So I had a close friend in elementary school, and I used to go over to his house, and he introduced me to FPS games. I think the first games that I ever played FPS wise were Unreal Tournament 1999 and Serious Sam, I think. And I ended up really liking playing those games, and for Christmas I think I got Unreal Tournament and started playing it a lot at home. So I was like 9 years old just playing that game, and I honestly at this point I have no idea how good I was, but that's a pretty fast-paced, difficult game, and so my FPS experience started there with like arena shooters, and I'd say starting early, starting young, and that kind of thing is definitely a huge advantage for people. So a lot of the younger people that are coming into Invite now are probably going to be like some of the best players, just because you're growing up with it. It's just so natural. As you get older, like I think you kind of I don't know, you're too aware of what's going on. Like for me now, it's like I know I'm trying to get good, but young kids, if they're just playing the game innocently, they're just naturally getting good, and I think it works really well. But anyways, Unreal Tournament, I was playing that, and then Unreal Tournament 2004 was coming out. Um, so I bought that, and I ended up meeting some guy in a pub or something, and I like went on vacation, but we started emailing each other, and I was like a little kid, and I was kind of intimidated by it all. But he like invited me to join his clan, so that was I think when my competitive sort of team history started. I think I was about 10 years old at that point. No, wait, 2000, yeah, 2003 I think is when Unreal Tournament 2004 came out. So I would have been 10 years old, and I joined his team, and then that team ended up merging with a Call of Duty team. So I started playing Call of Duty a lot, and that was like years of my life. That was like my middle school years was just Call of Duty, like a lot of Call of Duty, 1, 2, and 4. Um, and I was also on teams back then. The highlight of those years for me was I won Cal Open in Call of Duty 2. So I was competing back then too, and had a lot of team experience there too with like team leaders and stuff like that. But I can't really remember like what I learned from it. But I think the main thing was it was actually I used to play on a team in Call of Duty 1 that was I'd say it was similar to the froyotech sort of idea, where it was a bunch of really skilled players that got along really well, and like whether they weren't necessarily best friends, which some people try to make teams around best friends, but really they were just people that they could get along and they could play well together, and that was the priority rather than being best friends. Um, and then as I got a little bit older and was playing so much uh, PC games, I started getting a little burnt out. I think as a middle schooler, so stressed with middle school life, and I thought, it's 2007. I could use a break. Let me play this casual game TF2, and look where it took me. I guess didn't quite work out that way.
So then, once you had found TF2 and picked it up, what was your journey like from literally picking up the game and thinking that it was a very casual game, in your own words, to then finding a competitive scene for it, beginning in ESEA and starting the path, the journey?
Yeah, so I was playing a lot of just pubs in TF2. I wasn't really in touch with the competitive scene back then, so um, I was just pubbing, but I still had that competitive spirit, and I was pub stomping people after a little while. My favorite servers back then were the Slaughterhouse servers, which was thinking about it now, like I would probably never play there today, but it was really fun back then. 32-man, fast respawn, custom maps, like I don't know. That's what the early days of TF2 was like to me, and they were a lot of fun. They had a strong community there, and I started to get noticed within their community as one of the better pubbers, I guess. And some of their more veteran players who had come from TFC, which has its own competitive history that I was never involved in, decided to try and form a community team, a 6v6 team, and I was one of the first people that they tried to convince to join, and I hesitated and resisted for a while, but eventually I gave in and started playing competitively with them. I never had anything against competitive TF2. I just thought that I'd be going down a slippery slope, and yeah, it kind of happened, but I don't regret it in any way. Um, so yeah, I just started playing like in-house 6v6s, and eventually we started joining leagues, and that's how I found out about ESEA and started watching like the matches. And I used to watch like all the invite matches and really try to like follow the teams, and got into open. Played season 3 was my first season of ESEA. We played in Cal as well, but I don't remember what season that was. So we got right into competing, and this is kind of what I recommend to people nowadays. This is like the best approach, honestly, to get into competitive TF2, I'd say, is just play with some people that like your friends, and just start there, start competing, man. Like a lot of people are too intimidated to start playing, and I don't really see why. Um, if you play with people that you enjoy playing with, it's a good way to start. Eventually, like I said, you kind of want to play with people that have the same competitive goals as you. But starting off, playing with friends is like the best way to have like a low pressure environment and to just get started. So we were going into ESEA. Nowadays, like ESEA Open is, well, even back then it was hard, man, because there used to only be Open and Invite. So we were in Open and we were playing against basically like top IM teams and stuff. So it was hard, but we practiced a lot, and I think having that challenge uh, made me better. It made me want to improve. Like losing matches was upsetting. I'd watch the demos immediately after and try and figure out what was going on, and that was a trend that I kept for many seasons. And so season 3, 4, I was on Slaughterhouse Gaming. We made playoffs, I think, but I think we had a lot of forfeit wins. I don't know, but I was playing. Yeah, I was playing demo back then. I think I was more of a backup season 3, but then season 4 I was a starter. Season 5 I left that team to play with Tyrone and company on EMG, and our goal that season was to win Open. So we won Open, and then um, went into Invite, made LAN, made LAN our first season, and I guess it's been the goal ever since.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a big chunk of your rise to the top there that you kind of glossed over a little bit, but I'd like to tackle a little bit more in depth, because I think the concept for a lot of people of b4nny working his way up the divisions, or in some way not being recognized as a top player and having to fight your way up to have to create a reputation and prove yourself, is a bit of a foreign thought, or it's going to be a foreign thought if people try and think about that now, because it's incomprehensible that you would have to, post a recruitment thread or something. When people were joking about this recently, they were like, oh, b4nny's going to have to make a recruitment thread. This is ridiculous, because he's been at the top for so long. So what was it like when you actually did have to do that? What was your journey to the top like? Was it difficult to get recognized, or was it just pure talent that managed to carry you to a position where you were able to join EMG and meet up with these other talented gamers aiming to win Open and go into play Invite? Or was there a bit of a struggle? What was it like on your journey into Invite those first few seasons?
Well, it was actually fairly natural. I somehow got up in this pug group called Geopugs, which is what Tyrone and his crew used to run. It was like 6v6 or 7v7 or 8v8 pugs, depending on how many people showed up. And this is where like Tyrone and Mackie used to play all the time together, and a lot of the original people that I teamed with. And it was like a West Coast kind of based pug group, and a lot of them had met in person. There was like meetups and stuff, and it was pretty cool, I guess. They were all funny, silly guys, but pretty good too. And I just joined these pugs and kind of started getting to know some of them. Played a lot in those, and that's how I got noticed, I think. And Tyrone always said, "Oh, this was also back when like the Muscle Milk squad was there too. Like people like Bloodsire, CB, Bear, those guys." So there was already some like top level players that were kind of involved in this pug group, but then there were like the aspiring up and comers like Tyrone and Mackie, and then me too. So yeah, they always told me that, because I was like really young back then. I was like 15, 16 or something, and uh, they would always comment on like me like laughing hysterically and stuff like that. So they always thought I was like funny or weird or whatever, and that kind of made me stand out, I guess. But I was also like, they thought it was funny that I was like destroying them in pugs, but then I was like laughing like Mickey Mouse or whatever. So there's, I don't know, it just made me stand out. And then they wanted me to join their team season 5, so um, I took the opportunity. The goal for the team again was to win Open, and everyone was on board with that. And actually on that team, that was the first time I ever played on a team with Blaze. It was back in season 5, and then ended up playing with him again through froyotech. So a lot of these players like were starting out back then, and it's just kind of like we rose at the same time, I guess. But I was playing a lot. Like the fact that I was playing pugs is kind of like evident that I love TF2, because a lot of people just, they come on and they like maybe try to scrim and then they leave. But I was like living and breathing TF2 already. Like it was just really fun. I like got addicted, I guess. Um, I was doing jump maps. I was doing demo reviews. I was playing pugs. I was doing everything really. So I was just playing a lot of TF2, and I think that level of dedication was also uh, noticed by like Tyrone and all those guys, which helped me get noticed.
And then EMG's rise in and of itself as a team was pretty incredible as well, because you obliterated Open in that first season, went on to make playoffs in Invite in the next one, and then your next season was ESEA Season 7, where you had your first victory at LAN as well. So the the team itself also had a big rise to fame, kind of carrying these other players, or in fact, it's really the players that are carrying the team up there. But there's a big wave of new talent that suddenly hit the top of the scene. A few questions surrounding that as well. One, was there kind of resistance from other people? Did they view you as upcoming talent that still had to prove yourself at this point? Did they view you as underdogs? Did they not really take you seriously? And then, of course, having come into that position, can you remember all the way back there to what it was like winning your first season? What was it like being like have come into ESEA and then be a winner within 2 seasons? It's a pretty incredible rise to fame.
Yeah, we were all like really hungry for the win, and we were all passionate about TF2. And we had the great leadership of Tyrone, and then we also had like a lot of skilled players on our team. Like we found like Shade. He was like completely unknown, and we got him on medic, and he became like the best medic ever. We had YZ50 on scout, who was, in my opinion, like he defined like the the modern scout kind of thing, where he was like just moving around like a madman, but also hitting every fucking shot. So um, without like players like that, and then like myself on demo, just like kind of thinking about things that other demos weren't thinking about, practicing a lot, and just trying to take like mind games to the next level and stuff like that. Um, and then like Mackey's wildcard stuff that no one really knew what the fuck was going on. I don't know, it was just like a great combination of players, and then we had the leadership of Tyrone to help us like get there. And then yeah, I don't know. The first ESEA LAN, we got fourth, so we struggled, but we knew we could do it, because like after that loss, it came down to like some really dumb mistakes um, that we knew uh, we would never repeat really. And I think around this time is when like I started gaining more and more um, like confidence as like a caller, because I don't know, gaining more and more experience, and I had been to LAN, and I knew like the kinds of things that could cost our team games. So I'm always like trying to call like in the way that will like remind people not to make dumb mistakes or whatever. Just because I've been there and made those dumb mistakes, so I can bring that experience to the team. But we made like some slight roster changes, and then we came back the next season. And though it was a weird season, season 7, because I think there were only 3 teams at that LAN. It was,
Yeah.
I'm still proud of that win, because we beat some good teams. Complexity and Blight, I believe, or who, I don't know. I think those were the
Yeah,
teams.
yeah, that's what it was. Complexity and Black Gaming in that order
Yeah.
for season 7.
hmm And so, I mean, going up against those teams, I think we, like even going into that LAN, I think we were definitely the underdogs. Um, the season before that, underdogs had won. Blight won the season 6 LAN. So season 7, I think, wasn't it was yeah, it was just kind of a repeat sort of where the underdog came in and won. And I don't know really what it was, but we just all clicked and we played maps that we were comfortable with, and we were just having fun, and people were being really good, like no one choked. I don't know. Um, it's kind of weird to me, 'cause like back then, like I came into the scene or into Invite in season 6 and 7, being like the underdog and kind of like the new kid. Um, I had gotten a little bit of respect from some of the Invite people that had played in some of those pugs or had seen some scrims. Like I think I saved chat logs. Back then I used to save like all kinds of chat logs. This was one of the things that I did to like try to keep myself on track, was like if someone gave me advice, I'd save it and I'd write it down, and I would, you know, look back at it and try and remind myself of these things. But I'd also save like some nice things that people would say. Like, and I remember Jaeger, who was like one of the top players in complexity. He like was praising me at one point and saying like if I kept improving at the rate I was, that I would be one of the top invite players on demo. And um, that kind of stuff is inspiring and makes me feel better, to hear that people that I respected were starting to like notice me. So even going into those seasons, like people knew we would be kind of dangerous. We would be we'd be not expected to win, but if everything like lined up, we could win, and we ended up winning season 7. But yeah, just because I came into Invite like at that time when there was like that established like old school like top of Invite with like complexity and EG and stuff. Like I always felt like kind of the new generation of Invite player, and obviously now like I can't be that because I've been in ESEA for like over 15 seasons, but I don't know, I still feel like I'm not some old washed up player, because I try to keep myself like improving all the time and practicing and staying sharp. So um, hopefully I've been able to like influence the rest of Invite in some way, so that they're not all gonna just like go down that path of the old complexity teams or whatever, where they just like kind of just fade away, and like just expect to win because they have some old legacy behind them. But you really always gotta practice hard and stay relevant, I guess. Wins won't just be handed to you anymore. So yeah, that's basically those first few seasons of Invite, and then after that we started. I don't know. We made some roster changes. We would have some internal drama or whatever, and then we would always maintain a core of the team. I think that was very important for our success, because we had the core of the team that had the experience, had the LAN championships under our belt, knew kind of how to approach integrating new players, and then just brought in new talents. And we started playing with better and better people. Like back in season 9 was the first season. I played with Clockwork. I played with Sizer back then, and just like people that are obviously considered like the best players ever. So because we had established that reputation for being a solid team on LAN and performing well and having strong leadership, we were able to pick up better and better players and build our stronger team because of it.
So the next era that we go into is this long-standing narrative that has pretty much dominated ESEA at this point. I mean, it wasn't there at the beginning and it's tailed off towards the end, but for the meaty majority of ESEA, everybody in North America has had this amazing rivalry and this narrative of the b4nny team versus the Harbleu team. And they've come in various shapes and forms, but it was an incredibly long-standing gaming feud, if you want to call it that, at the top, with you guys taking first or second off each other, and the other one always filling in the other slot for season after season after season. And the first thing regarding that is that when that first started developing, were the third and fourth teams not able to break into it? Were they a level below, or did you guys just shut them out because you knew that you had to take second place? Like, if you didn't take second, if the other team had taken first, you'd be ruining this legacy. Was there ever an element of that, or was it just a genuine feud? Was there ever any real malintent in it, or were you guys just the best?
Well, first of all, I think it's kind of funny that sometimes people say it's me versus Harbleu or me versus Platinum or me versus Enigma. I'm not really sure which one of them deserves the credit, but
I think Harbleu has the most actual ESEA titles, though, does he not? I think he was in the majority of them. I think that's why I'm saying Harbleu, but it could be one of the others. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, since Harbleu was on Check 6, I think he has one up over all the other mix-up guys. So I don't know, man. I think it again comes back to like leadership, really, that made mix-up and my teams like what they were. I don't really know kind of the ins and outs of what mix-up was, because the rivalry I think kept us apart in a way. I don't really have any grudges or anything like against them personally, really, but um, I don't know. It was always fun just to have a team that's pushing you to the next level and always challenging you and forcing you to be better. Because if you're not like thinking actively the whole time, you're gonna lose. Because all those players, they will do whatever it takes to win, really. So that's fun and exciting to play against. And Mix Up was probably the best team we could have ever played against. And um, I hope someday that they return in some form. But I think a good example would be season 12 of ESEA, because that season actually the third place team was pretty fucking good. It was pretty insane. It was a bro team, seriously bro. They had Clockwork, they had YZ50, they had Boomer, they had Dummy, they had Blaze, they had KBK. Like, this is an insane roster. And meanwhile, we had Hero, I think, filling in. We had because Clockwork left our team to play with them, and then um, we had Dave AC, I believe, on Roamer at that point. I could be wrong. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
yeah, it was
sure.
Dave AC. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think in comparison, like our roster was like, it looked less star-studded than a team like Bro, but we had more leadership and we could like keep composed and no one on the team would like emo out. We had a strong mental game, and I don't know, it's just that's what really gives a team the edge, because in Invite every player's like capable of killing you. Every player is capable of hitting the same shots. Every player is talented, but if it doesn't, like, if they shut down mentally, emotionally, if they like crumble under the pressure, if they start going off on their own because there's no structure there, it just falls apart and it doesn't work. It doesn't live up to the potential of the names on paper, um, which is like, again, that's like part of what I bring to the team. Like, every team that I join, that's what I try to offer, so that I can take people that have a lot of talent and turn them into like good teammates. Um, but other than that, a lot of the teams are obviously not gonna be in the grand finals just because they just have like no. A lot of these teams that just have no longevity to them. Just like formed for a season, it's like a pug team. They're probably not gonna make it to playoffs. A lot of the teams that are like going to land, like half the players on the fourth place team already know that they're gonna quit after the season, or they have some other offer on the table or whatever, so their heart's not really in it. They don't really care about the team at all. But with our teams, like, we had some stability, so people, like, I don't know, the team atmosphere, I think, coming together was really important and helped us win all those events or make it at least to the grand finals. And some of those seasons, like, they came down to just like minor mistakes. The most heartbreaking loss was season 10, actually. Season 15 was kind of the same, but season 10 was like the most heartbreaking because it was so close. I think we were within one round in two best of threes of winning the whole thing, and Mix-Up ended up winning. And losing when it's that close is the most crushing. If we get rolled like season 12, like against Mix-Up, I can brush it off. It's like there's really nothing we could have done because we just we weren't prepared enough, or we didn't have the right players or whatever. But when it comes down to like just one or two rounds for the whole thing, that's when it really sucks because it just haunts you. Like I was miserable for a few days after that, but luckily I haven't felt that way for a long time. I think this past season of ESEA was similar, just because things were starting to crumble for my team. So I kind of, I don't know, it wasn't in the end like a big shock or whatever. Like we deserved to lose probably after what we had done, up to that point. So yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah. So around the same time as the season that you're talking about, season 12, but just after that one actually, season 13 is around the. Oh, sorry, no, it's not. It's before that one. It's just before season 12. Was it just after season 12? I can't even remember. But sometime around there, whenever it was I-46. Was this first intercontinental battle between Europe and North America, and absolute devastation. It wasn't even close. It was just utter. It was an utter wasting. But you guys coming into it you'd never fought against the European teams before. It's a very different kind of context to the one we see at the moment. Like looking forward to I-58 or having looked back just at I-55, there's still a bit of history between the continents. We have kind of show matches every now and again as well. But that first time, that I-46, there's fanboys of each continent, and they think that they can do better than the others, or you criticize demos, or you're watching the matches and stuff, but you don't really get a grip on it. What was it like coming over to Europe this first time at I-46 to try and compete? Was it a feeling that the game was going somewhere different, or was it just a novelty, a one-off for you to prove yourself along with Classic Mix-Up?
Oh, well, it was huge actually for us. Tyrone back then was like, he was so obsessed with Europe and like going to Europe to compete, and it was like such a huge opportunity, and it really helped make us feel like TF2 was like important, I guess, because while TF2 isn't like the biggest competitive game out there, we still, as TF2 players, have gotten a taste of it, and it's pretty awesome. Like getting to go to Texas was like the first time was like, damn, this is pretty cool. And then going again and again and again, and then going to Europe, and then starting to travel to different places, like it really legitimized things, and it was pretty awesome. We were excited for it, and we knew it was like a big opportunity, something we didn't want to waste. We didn't want to turn it into a joke. So we were very serious about it. Going over there, like, we were confident because, I don't know, playing against Mix-Up and stuff like that, there's just something about that team where it's pretty hard to replicate, and if you've never played against them, you're probably never gonna, like, just develop that on your own. I don't know. So we kind of knew Mix-Up was, like, the biggest threat going into that. The Europeans, obviously, were all good teams, but having played against Mix-Up really prepared us for anything, I'd say. The biggest challenge going into like those big international lands against teams you've never played against is they could have some slightly weird play style that just catches you off guard. You don't really know what to expect, and that's maybe that was like their biggest advantage, I guess. Otherwise, like the skill was fairly equal on everyone, but just the LAN experience and the leadership of Mix-Up and Leviathan Gaming, I think back then, were like what gave them the advantage.
So following on from that, actually, it's interesting because I think for Europe, that LAN was pretty much the biggest turning point in the development of the metagame for 6v6. Because prior to that, we'd been running full vanilla. We hadn't been running any unlocks apart from some Kritzkrieg and stuff. And we played a very slow style, a very rooted to the floor kind of style, and that really shook everything up. The destruction by Classic Mix-Up and LG. But you've been playing for a long, long time as well, and I'd just like to get your thoughts on what you think the biggest moments have been in terms of the development of the game. So thinking right back to when you first started playing, what have been the key points at which the game has developed? People have started thinking about the game differently, or key players have really pushed the boundaries of competitive 6v6.
Yeah, I actually forgot that I-46 had shotgun roamers. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Damn, I can't believe Mackie played with that. Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense to me. I think that event like kind of opened the eyes of maybe a lot of the TF2 communities around the world that the American playstyle with some unlocks allowed is making the game more interesting and pushing these teams to the next level. But I generally do think of it in terms of players. I don't know. There have been a lot of players over the years that I think just like defined the eras of TF2, and like I think going back like a long time ago, it'd be like Reptile on Pocket, and then you have like Carnage on Scout, and then you have YZ50 on Scout, then you have TLR on Pocket, then you have Clockwork on Pocket, and then it's just like players like this that keep like defining what the best of their class is capable of, you know. I would hope that maybe I helped develop the demo man kind of field of things, but yeah, it's just like players that try to push the class to the next level. Sometimes there'll be like, I don't know, the updates obviously change things, like gunboats coming out. But other than that, you know, not a lot has like really changed just because of like the game itself or any events. I don't think the crossbow is allowing medics to shine. So that now some like of the best medics that are the most frustrating to play against are like the ones that are hitting all the arrows and stuff like that. But it's just kind of slow and gradual, and you get like the superstars, I think, that everyone tries to emulate, that really push the game to the next level, I think.
So you're a player who has really mastered quite a range of classes, possibly due to your experience, possibly due to how you enjoy playing the game and have played a lot of the different classes in your competitive career. But you started off on Demoman, and you're working that one forwards, regarded as the #1 Demoman by an absolute mile, Pipe Jesus, Bunny Jesus, etc., for quite a long time. But I just want to get your thoughts on learning the different classes and mastering them. At what point do you think were you regarded as the #1 Demoman? And at what point did you start to develop your skills on other classes? Were you secretly still like an incredible scout and soldier right back when? Or have you developed these over time and only now are starting to become a real top player across the board?
Well, I think I've always split my time pretty well on all the classes. I enjoy all of them really, and I do play a lot of TF2 and practice a lot and all that stuff. So I think the foundation for my skills on all the classes starts with like jump maps and stuff, having the movement down that I can transfer to soldier or demo or scout or medic. And then I played a lot of pugs, just like trying my hand at all these other classes. And like even though I was a demo for like 11 seasons of ESEA, and I think you asked like when was I starting to get regarded as a good demo. I think the whole like reputation or meme or whatever of this Pipe Jesus thing started, I think, season 10, the actual season where we lost. But I had a very strong performance that LAN, and some kid on the forums made some like Photoshop of Jesus holding a grenade launcher and my face on it. So that's when that started. And I don't know, I just think it's funny. I'm not really tied to it, but it's funny. And even back then, like I was playing scout in pugs, and after I-49, like when I decided I was going to switch to scout, Lansky was like confident that I could do it because I was like one of the hardest scouts for him to play against in MGE or in pugs or whatever. So I think people kind of knew that I could play just about everything because of invite pugs. I really took advantage of those to play every class against really good players. I think that's really the best approach is being a well-rounded player because now I'm confident that if my team needs any class, I can fill in and we can pick up, a new player who can fulfill another role. Um, so it's nice being flexible. It's nice being confident in your skill in other classes because your team may need it someday. I don't know. It's just something that I want to maintain probably for forever, and I think it makes me maybe a more valuable player to have on a team.
How do you rate your classes currently? If you were to put yourself at the pivotal position in the team and build around you, say you could get anybody you wanted to fill in the other roles, which one would you put yourself on for maximum impact, and which ones do you prefer? Like, how would you rate your classes at the moment?
Well, I seem to always think I'm the best at the whatever class I'm currently maining. So now I'd probably say Soldier's my best. When I was like scouting season 17 and stuff, like I thought I was best at scout. Like I was really happy with how I was playing that. Nowadays, like if I play scout, I just don't feel like I'm as good. Demo was by far my favorite class and what I thought I was the best at. Like back in season like I don't know 5 through 13 or whatever, and it just seems to go that way. That whatever I feel like I have the most control on the game with is the class that I enjoy the most, and I feel like I want to put the most time into and try to main, and I feel like I'm the best at, I guess. So yeah, now I'd say it's Soldier. Then after that, Scout or Demo. Like I feel like I'm maybe in my head a little bit about it all, but I think those I'm pretty equal at, like Scout versus Demo. Um, some people like Clockwork in particular. Whenever he hears me say that I think that Scout might be my best class, he always gets upset and says it was Demo by far because he was one of the people that played against me on Demo. So I guess he has that experience. I never had the pleasure of playing against myself, so I don't really know how it feels. That's like that's one of the things that I'm like so interested in is what it's like to play against me. So that's why I spend a lot of time like watching streams of people that I play against or things like that because I just want to know like what's going through their head, what it looks like, what it feels like, because maybe it's a little bit of narcissism, but I think I just want to learn, I guess. And just see, yeah, how effective I really am at what I'm doing. And yeah, so nowadays, probably Pocket. I just feel like I have a really good position to like call, and I think I also play. Oh, sorry, there's some yeah, sirens going on. I I always also think that when I feel like I'm doing something that's slightly different than what the other people in Invite are doing, it really makes me stand out too. Because I think back when I was playing demo, like it was pretty hard for other people to play like I was. And then when I was playing scout, like I was really emphasizing like being that combo scout. Not a lot of people were playing it properly in my opinion. And now on pocket, like I'm running the whole gunboats pocket and really pushing the jumps and stuff and aggression. So a lot of people just they aren't able to keep up with some of that stuff, and I think that gives me an advantage on those classes.
And now we come to the greatest team ever to grace the game. Frankly, if we're going to look at statistics, we've got to call it what it is, and that's froyotech. And the actual first question that I want to ask is kind of revolving around that. When you built the team, when you gathered these people together, you've said that they were kind of a bunch of people who were all very talented gamers that all kind of enjoyed playing with each other, maybe not the best friends, but all had these common goals. But was there motivation to create kind of a super team? Is that what you were aiming for? Was that as a result of the slightly lackluster I-49 performance, or were you just trying to, find a new team, find something new, mix it up?
So at that point, I had just come off of a disappointing loss in season 15, and Shade had taken a season off, and I was playing with Lansky. I was playing with Team It, so Lansky, myself, Shrugger, Indust, Zalox, RR. That was our team. We got second at LAN. It was a bit disappointing, and Shade started talking to me about building this team. It was something he had brought up a long time ago. It was always just like this crazy idea, because he actually wanted me to play Pocket from the beginning on that team, because his theory was me and Blaze on Soldier would just fly around the map, and then Clockwork would kill everyone, and then blah blah blah. So it was kind of Shade always has like these crazy ideas, and he always loves being dramatic and, like, I don't know, having these big spectacles. So like he proposed the idea. I had like a really hard time leaving my team season 15 to go to season 16 froyotech. Like, I always want to be really loyal to my teams, and it always hurts me to like leave a team, because the worst thing is when I think a team's gonna die because I leave, and that's exactly what happened. The team just stopped like playing because I left, and it sucked because those guys were all really good. But I don't know. People try to guilt me like this all the fucking time, man. Even this season, Team Solo Uber tried to say that if I didn't join them, they'd fucking die. But I called their bluff, luckily. And then yeah, like, and then Shade said the same thing. Like, if I don't join them, oh, this team's not gonna happen because they need me or whatever. So it's an unfortunate position to be in sometimes, like, where people are like relying on you to build their teams. But for a team like froyotech, you have to have the right people, otherwise it doesn't work. So I ended up joining them, and we took a while to finalize our roster, but the idea for the team, I think, was we did have our sights on Europe, being the world champion team, being the best team that's ever played TF2, because I don't know, we just like tried to get people that were all like smart. They all had brains. They all could make plays. They could all communicate. Just everyone was equally skilled, and like there was no one holding the team back or anything. And we had the leadership, we had the experience, we had the land proven players, we had basically everything. And while I shy away from using the term super team, like, it's not something that I like. I don't know. I don't care about calling my team a super team, but I think our team was like, it was on paper, like, it was probably as good as like Mix Up or something, because a lot of people would argue that, Blaze, yeah, he's not the best roamer. There's Seagull, or Shade's not the best. Harbleu's the best. So I think we were still like unproven, I think, as the best team ever, starting out. But after 3 consecutive wins or 4 consecutive wins, it's like, it's kind of hard to deny, I think, and I'm proud of that. And then we got the 2 back-to-back European championships or international championships. So at this point, I think we succeeded. But that chapter, I guess, of the team has closed for now, and I still think our future, or the future of the team name and myself being the leader, is still bright, I'd say.
During that time when you had those 4 consecutive back-to-back victories, the 2 I-Series victories as well, at what point did you start to feel really dominant? Were you waiting for a team to come and challenge you after after you've already got 2 back-to-back victories? Are you just like, come on guys, give us a challenge, throw something at us? After you've already won, the I-Series without really too much of a hitch, the first one, I-52, apart from dropping those 2 maps in the group stages, you just went on to smash the brackets of the tournament. Did you feel solid, very confident in your performance, or are you always waiting for this team to come up and challenge you, for somebody to beat you?
It was basically after I-52 that we we like really gained like that swagger to us, I think. 'Cause after that point, like we had nothing more to prove really, and going into the following ESEA lands and stuff, it just like I was so confident in my team that I started, doing things that I wouldn't do before, like getting drunk at LAN and like I don't know, just having fun, because I believed in all of my teammates so much that I thought, we can have fun with this and still accomplish our goal. So those were some really fun times, and I think, yeah, it continued until after I-55, and then after I-55, I think that was kind of when that all changed, I guess.
So, at what point did you round this corner? At what point did you come to the realization that some people on your team perhaps didn't have the same goals? They weren't wanting to take things as seriously. Maybe they were a bit more emotional, or just needed somebody else, like you were previously talking, like a co-captain to manage them at the same time. At what point was it obvious to you that there was an end in sight for this dominant reign of froyotech?
Well, I think you pretty much nailed it. Losing the co-captain with Lansky really started to make things shaky, you know, made it hard for me to keep everyone on the same page and keep everyone in line, I guess, because things kind of got out of control as far as that swagger, that ego. I think people didn't want to play at all. They just wanted to assume that we could win. They didn't want to show up. They didn't want to practice. But it's only a matter of time, you know. We were dominant for, let's say, a year or two or something, a year and a half, and then, in that time, people are going to be improving. People are going to be practicing. It took Ascent a very long time, but they finally like brought together the right players and created a playstyle that worked. So now they all practiced and they did what we weren't doing. So that's why we ended up losing to them and losing to TSU and stuff. I don't know. It's just because I was always pushing for the team to be the best, and people stopped caring, and then they started getting like honestly like worse at the game. You can't be worse. If you don't want to practice, you can't get worse. So people not practicing and like not being as good and not caring as much brought down like the cohesion, the communication, the flow of the team. Like for a while the team was just like it was amazing. Like everyone would always be making plays. Everyone would always be communicating and coordinating, and everything was just going so smoothly. But then it all just started slowing down and things wouldn't be right, and it didn't feel the same anymore. And it was rough. It sucked because I was still giving it a lot of effort. Admittedly, like with the success of my team, I gained the confidence to like, you know, start streaming and stuff and not really caring whether people like listened to our comms or watched us play. And I think that might have also, made the atmosphere a little bit less serious for our team. But we still won for a while, and I don't know. It couldn't last forever, I guess. And I don't know. I'm happy with what it was. So I'm not gonna like cry about it.
I'm gonna dig you a little deeper just towards the end there as well. I don't want to I don't want to provoke the tears, but it would be juicy. No, I'm gonna just ask you a little bit more about season 20 because you said kind of it couldn't last forever. It's kind of inevitable. But in season 19, you pretty much had the same beginning to the season and the playoffs that you did in season 20. Your team kind of looked a little bit lackluster. Ascent got a few victories from you in the season. They then went on to knock you down into the lower bracket in the ESEA playoffs. And then you just came back and won it all anyway. And kind of breezed through it, really. Like, Ascent got absolutely smashed in that second best of three in the ESEA season 19 grand finals. But then season 20, it started the same, but then collapsed. So was before I ask a little bit more specifics about what actually happened, because there's loads of crazy drama and stuff that surrounded the actual event of your collapse in season 20 not grand finals, the lower bracket finals. But were you aware during season 20 that this might be it, or was it just kind of something in the back of your head, just thinking it's going to happen at some point, not quite sure when?
Season 20, I could definitely start feeling it. Yeah, because the other thing that happened during season 20 was like Overwatch beta coming out, so people started getting distracted by that. Um, we had one I-55 just before this, I believe, and so people were like, I don't know, they were riding on that high, but at the same time burnt out and felt like, these wins they weren't really going to be a challenge. I think we won GXL, just I think winning too much was also kind of like part of the downfall, I guess. A lot of the teams that I've been on, like, losing was part of what motivated us, and like even with this team, froyotech, like, a lot of our losses prompted like immediate change, where I would change classes, or we would switch something up, and we attempted it actually in this grand finals, or the not grand finals, the playoffs. Um, we attempted a slight class switch, didn't end up working, I guess, but it was, I don't know, it's just kind of like a desperate times thing, because I don't think either way it really would have made a difference, to be honest. But um, during the playoffs there was definitely some drama, just because there were people that on the team that, like, you could tell they just didn't care if we won or lost. There were people that are saying, I hope we lose. There are people that are saying, I want to uninstall this game. Like, you can't win if you have people that are talking like this. It's the most toxic environment, and I don't know, it's just awful. So I think those players needed to stop playing, honestly. It was just time for them to take a break.
Would you have enjoyed carrying on with the team, having removed some of the players? Would that, in hindsight, would that have been a decision, a path that you could have taken to kind of ruthlessly cut some players, maybe before this got to a really toxic level, and replace them with some upcomers, and you might still have kind of the core of the old Froyotech going now?
I don't think that would have been possible, to be honest. After we lost and got third place, I had everyone in Mumble. I asked, okay, I'm committing to next season. Who's with me? And every single one of them said they're done. So there was no salvaging any of it. As far as like making a change sooner, I couldn't justify it. I don't know. I think I just based everything on results. We won I-55, we won GXL, we won season 19. You can't really argue with that. Like, even though things may have been changing, it could have. I always believed in my team to, like, bring it out at the end. In playoffs, they would always give it 100%, and then this season it didn't happen. It was the one time that I was not surprised by like a 180 in their attitude and efforts and stuff. So I couldn't really have seen it coming, and I don't think I could have justified making a change sooner.
Turning the conversation now to pastures new, greener pastures. We'll talk about your new team that you've just picked up. They've picked up you. I'm not even sure of the correct terminology, but it's going to be the team going into next season of ESEA. And we discussed some of the players a little bit at the beginning, and kind of your motivations for picking them up, and etc. But I'd like to revisit that topic and talk about them a little bit more, in terms of what it is about these players that really attracts you to them, why you thought they're a good mix to bring together, instead of maybe using your weight in the scene to pick more experienced players, more top level players. If someone hears, oh, do you want to make a new Banny super team, you could have maybe had your pick of the lot, but instead you plump for kind of a structured core that had already been together, and you're keeping the froyotech name as well. So talk a little bit about that as well.
Right, so what ultimately killed the season 20 froyotech team was that people didn't want to play TF2, and they just didn't put time into the game. So I wanted the opposite from my new team, basically. Um, I ended up meeting a lot of these players through. Well, I've seen almost all of them play from open to where they are now. So I've had my eye on a lot of them for a while. They've played in Invite a few seasons, and while they have struggled, they've shown promise, and I think a big part of it was they played a lot of pugs. They played a lot of TF2. I would see certain moments from them that just like impressed me. They'd make certain plays or whatever. Um, and that's what I was looking for. People that play TF2 because they just enjoy the game. They want to get better. I've met a few, or yeah, I've met a few of them. At LAN, Free State and Decimate. The other guys I haven't, but you know, I think they all were on the same page with me as far as what I wanted when starting fresh, and I also, I gave them a decent amount of like tryout time. So like I was playing with them through a couple tournaments, actually a Razor tournament, and we played against Ascent, and we had promising results, which was important to me. They seemed to handle, the pressure fairly well. The energy was there. I liked that. Um, I had an offer to join Team Solo Uber, and I declined it just because I mean, partly they got rolled in playoffs, so it wasn't that enticing. And I don't know. I wanted to be on a team that was mine, I guess, that I could really control a little bit more and push in the direction that I wanted. I didn't just want to like be another player on on a team that already has like an existing structure. Plus, like I always try to consider like what invite will look like. I always feel guilty if I kill a team or if I don't know, make one team like um yeah, just make one team have. I don't know what I'm trying to say really, but like I felt like Team Solo Uber didn't need me. I didn't need to be on that team. They would survive. I called their bluff. They picked up Duatna. I'm happy for them because Duatna's a good demo. Um, I think they will be fine, you know? And that's what I want. I want there to be as many good teams in Invite. So if I can make one team good and they're still good, hey, it all worked out for me. Um, I still think we can beat them. I think we can beat Ascent. I think we can win again. It's a path that I've been down before, and I'm confident that we can make it. I think every player on this team has a lot of potential, and they just need some time to really make it to top invite, because they were all playing in low invite except Decimate, and so they don't really know what it takes to play a top invite yet. But it doesn't take like forever to learn that. This season will be a learning season for us, but that doesn't mean we can't win too. I don't know. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good journey for us.
So you just triggered another question that I wasn't planning to ask you, but I think you've alluded to something that might be quite interesting just to pick up on, which was kind of this idea that you have, or you feel, maybe you don't have it, but you feel like you have a responsibility to the scene, to the league, to something, to try and either not kill the top level or to try and boost it as much as possible. So two questions surrounding this then. Do you think top players do or should have a responsibility to the competitive TF2 scene to try and promote it, to try and make it better, to do what they can to not make toxic teams that are going to fall out halfway through the season and devolve? And secondly, if you've got this kind of responsibility in the league, do players do this currently? Are players letting down the scene? Do you see people stepping up doing this? If there is a responsibility, do players act like they have this responsibility?
I think lately things have been getting better in terms of this topic. whether there is a responsibility or not, it's hard to say because we're all people. We all have our lives. Not everyone can prioritize TF2 and like, make decisions based on whether or not the TF2 scene is going to like appreciate it or not. I've struggled with this a lot actually. Like I feel guilt every time I leave a team or I'm gonna start something new or whatever because I mean there's even a point where I was considering like quitting or whatever, and I don't know, I felt awful about it honestly because I have a lot of people that follow me or have been watching me play for years, and a lot of them um, are just like really supportive. And I don't know, I know for a fact that if I quit, the world would go on. It doesn't matter. But I don't know, I just would struggle with it for a long time because I think that I love TF2, and I think that I could help be one of those people that legitimizes the game and pushes it further and all that stuff. Um, so leaving would kind of, I don't know, it might slow down um, some of the development in terms of like the competitive scene, like the best players caring, or it might slow down like, I don't know, people might lose some hope or whatever. And again, like it sounds really egotistical, but people have fucking said this to me. I try to take it with a grain of salt, but like I don't know, people write this kind of stuff to me all the time. And but lately with promises of like TF2 matchmaking and competitive support from Valve, I think a lot of people are starting to take this a little bit more seriously, be a little bit more professional, start getting their like streams in line, get their Twitter in line, like get all that stuff set up and try and really have like a competitive scene for us to follow, have like TFTV, um, creating content, having things like this. I mean, I'm sure you're like trying to create this partially because you see some potential in like legitimizing TF2 competitive, and like we all there's like gonna be these people that are trying to like I don't know, they're trying to be the heroes of TF2, and I think that's a good thing. But I don't think anyone really should expect that someone would currently prioritize TF2 over other things in their life. We all do it because we love the game, and that's really all you can say about it. No one's really getting rich off this. No one's getting famous off this. It's just because we love the game, really. So whatever that's worth, that's what people should just try and emphasize, I guess, and that attracts other people into the game. If you want more people to play TF2 like I do, then you should show them why you love TF2. If I love competing, so I want there to be as many good teams as possible. I don't want to play against like open teams when I'm looking for invite matches and scrims because it's just not as satisfying. Like I'm not trying to trash talk beginners, but I want you to get better. I want everyone to get better. I want everyone to beat my team and challenge us, and like that just makes it more fun. That's part of the process and part of the enjoyment of the game. So that's why I always say I hope every player that ever retired from TF2 would come back. I hope Mixup would come back. I would hope like all these people that like made a mark on TF2 would come back because it would just make the game so much more fun. There'd be so much more to learn and just so much more challenge. And that's basically it.
Kind of following on from this then, from the perspective of the community, or even before we get to that actually, over the next year, let's talk about 2016, because currently when we're conducting this interview, I'm not sure exactly when it's going to go out within the next few weeks, but we're currently sat on the cusp of 2015, 2016, and there's no TF2 action going on at the moment. I mean, some people are playing pugs or whatever. I'm sure you've been playing invite pugs, doing your stream, whatever you're up to over Christmas, but we've got 2016 on the horizon, and I think it's fairly safe to say, even with Valve time, that matchmaking is going to be coming out at some point during 2016. And there's kind of a build-up, as you've been alluding to, of a bit more professionalism in the scene. Some people trying to legitimize it as an esport, as something that people should be taking a little bit more notice of, or sponsors, tournaments, investment, etc. How do you see the next 12 months, the next year, 2016 of TF2 going? If you were to be the prophet, the Banny Jesus that we all need, how do you see 2016 unfolding? Make some make some risky predictions.
Hmm. Whew. Well, I thought about this a little bit. I think 2016, um, the highlight of the year is definitely going to be the unveiling of matchmaking and the integration of streams and the official competitive support of Valve. I think with that, we're going to get a huge number of people interested in competitive TF2, and it doesn't even have to be new people playing TF2. Honestly, if the current player base of TF2 like just was aware of competitive, that alone would be a huge increase in our competitive community size. And I think that's probably what's going to happen first. So I would probably expect like a more active sort of just community in terms of like the forums, the social media, the streams, all that stuff I think is going to grow. I think leagues and stuff should probably grow because of that too. I think there's a lot of community initiatives to sort of ease these players into competitive, get them up to speed, and I think that's going to be kind of the main thing happening. Um, Unfortunately, though, right now there are no lands really to look forward to or big tournaments right now, as far as I know. Maybe something's in the works, but the past couple years have been really really good with events every few months, which have been good. But in terms of like actual tournaments and competition, like it's a bit slow. I think this year, I think it might take the whole year for that stuff to really take off. So maybe 2017 we'd be looking forward to like huger tournaments. There was one other thing I wanted to mention. Huh. Completely forgetting now. Um, hmm. Damn it. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I don't know. I think 2016 is just gonna be kind of the grassroots growth, and then after that it'll start growing uh, competitively and like with tournaments, and I don't know. It kind of snowballs. I think it's just opening the floodgates. Um, I wouldn't I wouldn't like be unhappy with even doubling our community size, but it could be more than that. Who knows?
So, as a final rounding off question, we'll go for something in a similar kind of, a bit more of a casual vein, but interesting opinions nonetheless. If so, we're in a fantasy world now, Bunny. We're in uh, our fantasy world. Maybe not my fantasy world. This is your fantasy world that I've constructed for you, where you are the head overlord of all things TF2, and you rule Valve if that's what you want. If you even want to keep Valve, whatever. But you are making all of the decisions, the decision process for how you're guiding the game, matchmaking, the PR or marketing campaign for how they want to develop competitive, etc. So, in your ideal world, if you had the keys to the city and you wanted to push it whichever way for the health of the game, for making competitive TF2 as big as CS:GO, as big as Dota, if you want to go that far, how would you do it? What basic steps would you start out going through to make this game much bigger?
Well, first of all, the people of Reddit are already convinced that I run Valve because I nerfed the player. But
I love that. I love that. It was fantastic.
God, which is not true, by the way. As far as I know, I have nothing to do with that. But I would be very happy with a system similar to that of CS:GO. I think what really helped launch that game, because before CS:GO was like really supported by Valve and really took off, TF2 was still like keeping up with it, or even more popular, more users on Steam, more viewers at ESEA LANs, things like this. It didn't really take off until Valve kicked it up with the skins and the majors and all that stuff, and just putting money back into the competitive scene, stickers, things like that. Um, I know Valve's going to take it nice and slow, but if I were in control, I would start moving in that direction, getting the competitive scene like fueled by Valve dollars and maybe some crowdfunding, whatever, through items. And um, it honestly, it's like a proven system, so why not just replicate it? I know TF2 has its own personality, but the beauty about TF2 is it's a game that you can really, I think you can really market the teams. It's called Team Fortress. Make it about the teams, you know? Um, I think that would be a great approach. So I have a team. It's called Froyotech. Why not put some Froyotech items out there? You know?
Just a little plug.
Yeah. Why not do that? Yeah, I think that would work. A major system would be perfect. Valve can work magic. I believe in them, but I have no reason right now to believe that that is being worked on or planned. But it 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 could be the logical like progression of this whole thing, or it could just be more fantasy. Oh well. I'm
Yeah.
optimistic though.
Do you think that TF2 has the same kind of infrastructure, history, um, even potential to get to the same level as CS:GO has? You know, with the skins, can you see it being at the level of CS:GO with these majors in, I don't know how many, however many years time it would take? Can you actually see it being that level?
I can. I can. I've talked to the people at Valve, and I don't know, they just make it sound so easy. Like I talked to Robin Walker and he's like, "Yeah, it just takes about 10 years for a game to get big." It's like, "Oh, okay. I guess we're almost there." So, I don't know. I think it could happen. Like again, Valve can do pretty much anything they want with their games. They've proven it with the level they've taken Dota or CS:GO to. So TF2 has its own personality and fan base, and I think they could come up with something that works for TF2 that also integrates the competitive scene and makes it really big. There's no reason why they can't. I honestly don't see it.
I'm just gonna ask a small personal question as well, which is,
Mhm.
do you think that your future is going to be, involved in TF2 in the same way that there's, CS:GO players that then become analysts, and you have casters and personalities and a whole ecosystem essentially of esports where people are really, earning enough money to live, to have, a nice wage, etc. Is that the dream? Is that what you're going to be aiming for, or is it a bit of a pipe dream? At the pipe dream, 'cause I didn't do that on purpose. But is that something that you're looking at seriously, or is it something that is on the back burner just in case something blows up?
Well, basically, since I don't know anything about the future of TF2 in terms of like where it goes as an esport, I would not be making those kinds of plans. Right now, I'm preparing for what I know is going to happen, which is the matchmaking and stream list, which I am very confident will, um, you know, bring me a boost in terms of like viewership and audience, which helps me a lot. So that's realistic for me right now. If TF2 did, go down that path of being a big esport where you'd have actual pro gamers in TF2, I would hope to be a competitor for as long as I can. I enjoy playing and competing, um, and whatever comes along with that, whether it's like more tournaments, traveling, sponsorships, whatever, I'm there. I'm there with it. But if there came a day where I lose all skill and um, I have to be like more of a sideline guy where I'm doing some casts and analysis. I like TF2 and I would be down to do that, I guess. But I hope to be a competitor as long as I can.
Well, that about wraps us up then. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll give you an opportunity to shout out whoever you'd like to, and also tell us where we can find you as well. If we want to find some more Banny, content, if we want to find streaming content, YouTube content, Twitter, etc., tell us where we can find you.
Great. So I do stream on Twitch just about every day. I'm on twitch.tv/Banny. That's b4nny. I'm also on YouTube. with the same username, and I am on Twitter currently 4G_Banny, and all those things are connected in some way. So if you find one, you can probably find the others. And if you like what you see, give me a follow. I love TF2. I hope you do too. I hope more people play TF2. It's the best game ever. So that's basically it. I don't really have any shoutouts. Looking forward to this season. I hope as many people as possible sign up for the upcoming seasons of ESEA and UGC and ETF2L or whatever. I just want more people playing TF2, watching streams, watching videos. It's a great game, and I think we should all celebrate that together. So yeah.
Well, that concludes our interview then with Banny. I'm going to be conducting more interviews with some other popular personalities from the competitive TF2 scene, but you'll have to wait to see who I grab next. You can catch me. I'm on YouTube as well, Sideshow 1994, Twitch, Sideshow, and on Twitter at Sideshow Gaming. If you have, we'll be releasing the next person that we're going to be interviewing, and we will have a thread up on teamfortress.tv. We'll also have a Reddit post, and you can tweet at us to submit questions, or if you've got any personalities that you would particularly like to see interviewed, then you can send us suggestions as well. But for us today, we'll see you later. It's goodbye from me and goodbye from Banny.
Bye.